No one in the narrow, dust-choked streets of Makori district ever imagined that the quiet man who walked barefoot to the factory every morning carried anything more than exhaustion in his bones. Daniel Obasi was known as the poor one, the husband who never complained, the man whose clothes were always clean but worn thin at the elbows, whose eyes held patience rather than ambition. He lived with his wife, Miriam, and their small child in a single-room house with cracked walls and a leaking roof, a place where rainwater dripped into bowls at night, and dreams were kept deliberately small to avoid disappointment. Daniel worked long hours as a warehouse clerk, lifting boxes until his palms hardened and his back ached. Yet his pay barely covered food. Miriam, once gentle, had grown bitter with time. Poverty had sharpened her tongue and hardened her heart. Each day she compared her life to others, women with cars, women with tiled kitchens, women whose husbands wore suits instead of sweat-stained shirts. And every comparison ended the same way, with Daniel standing silently as she reminded him of everything he was not. He never argued. He believed patience was love, that endurance would someday be rewarded. What he didn't know, what no one knew, was that far beyond that crumbling house, in glass towers and private boardrooms, a legal storm was quietly reshaping his destiny. 3 weeks earlier, a man named Victor Hale had died alone in a private hospital overseas, his name buried behind shell companies and international trusts. To the world, Victor Hale was a myth, an invisible trillionaire who owned ports, data networks, rare earth mines, and private satellites, a man who trusted no one and lived without family. But Victor had a secret, one written into a sealed document prepared decades earlier by an elite legal firm. Daniel Obasi was his only living heir. Years ago, before wealth swallowed him whole, Victor had loved a woman deeply and lost her before he ever knew she was pregnant. He searched for years, failed, and buried the truth under money and control. Only when his health collapsed did he reopen the past, hiring investigators who traced bloodlines across continents until they found Daniel, poor, unknown, and unprotected. The estate transfer was already complete. The assets were frozen only by procedure, waiting for the heir to be informed. Daniel was, by law, one of the wealthiest men to ever live. But that truth was still moving through systems and signatures, while his real life continued to fall apart. That morning, Miriam's anger had reached a breaking point. Their child had been sick all night, coughing weakly as Daniel sat awake, wiping her forehead with a damp cloth. At dawn, Miriam exploded, not at the illness, but at the life she hated. She accused Daniel of being useless, of trapping her in